Hello everyone, how's it going? It's Faster Auto Keys here, and in today's video, I'm going to show you how to change the shell of your Mercedes key into a brand new replacement shell. As you can tell in this key, the flip mechanism is absolutely broken, and although the buttons are okay, a lot of people buy these replacement shells because their buttons are also ripped, especially the panic button. Now this tutorial is going to be particular to the 3-button version without the light. However, the process is relatively the same, and this will still help you out in your situation. If you are interested in a new replacement shell for your Mercedes key, whether you have the 3-button, the 2-button, the 4-button version as you can see here, or a version that has a light, and you haven't already ordered, go ahead and check the link below in the description and you can order one from us directly. The keys we provide are of good value, very durable. The flip blade mechanism is very strong, so you won't have any issues with that, and it's very responsive, and as you can tell here, I'm pressing against the blade and it does not come off. Once again, if you'd like to get a new look on your Mercedes key, go ahead and check the link below. And before we begin, all you're going to need to have your shell changed is going to be a flathead screwdriver and a hammer. Now, if you're not comfortable working with hammers, I do recommend that you go ahead and have an automotive locksmith that is local to your area change the shell for you. From 1 to 5, I do consider this to be a harder tutorial, and I rate it at 4 out of 5, 5 being the very hardest, because you may have to mess with this mechanism. You might have to redo it depending on how you go in this situation. Of course, just go ahead and continue watching, and we'll go through the tutorial to see if this change is something that you feel comfortable doing on your own. Alright, beginning with this tutorial, one of the first things you're going to have to do to change this shell into a new body is that you're going to have to remove this back cover. Now, you might have removed this before if you've ever had to change the batteries on your key, and all you need to do is simply press it out of its place, pop it out, and you should be good to go. Now, if yours is very hard, you can also use a flathead screwdriver, and within the crack that may be a little hard to see in this video, just simply pry it out to make it easier for you. Alright, we have one battery off, and now we're going to remove this one, which just falls off really easily. And at this point, we are now in the section where we're going to begin separating the shell from the electronic chip. Now, there is one thing I have to mention, and is that this key is very secure and it's extremely tight. It's extremely hard to remove this part, which is why I give this a 4 out of 5 in terms of difficulty. This is where we're going to have to start to use the flathead screwdriver and the hammer. Now, I'll also provide clearer pictures, as you can see right here, but you're going to simply have to remove the 2 sections of this key in order to get to the electronic chip. Now, as you can tell in the photos, that's how the key will look when it's separated, and in order to get to that point, we're going to have to use the flathead screwdriver, and as you can see where I am pointing right here, there's a little crack, and we're going to have to simply put the flathead screwdriver in every single section of this line and hit it with a hammer so that it goes inside. Now, do not be worried, this will not break the chip as it is not touching it, and you're going to have to do it on this side as well. And once you have that side, this side, the whole section, as well as the corners, if you're able to, hit with the flathead screwdriver and the hammer. At that point, you're just going to go ahead and do it on this section right here. And eventually, slowly but surely, this case will start to begin to crack. And I'm going to go ahead and do this I'm going to fast forward it, but that's all you're going to have to do in order to get these two parts to separate. It will take some time, and again, if you are not comfortable using a hammer, I highly recommend that you have an automotive locksmith nearby to do this for you. As you can see, when I hit it, it started to go inside. And it is basically to the point where it can't go in anymore without excessive force that you want to get every single part of the key shell hit. Alright, now that we've done most of the sides around here, we're going to begin doing this top part with the hitting. Oh, and as you can tell, it seems like I do not have to actually hit the sides. As you can tell simply by the video, that now that I have hit all the way around it, it is no longer required for me to actually hit this top part of this particular key. As you can tell, it is already opening on its own. Of course, if your key isn't opening on its own, you just simply have to go with the top part, or if your top part is loose and your bottom part isn't, then you just simply have to hit the bottom part. As you can tell, this part of the key flip section has come off. And as you can tell right here, we now have this entire thing off. There you go. You can have a look at what your key chip might look like from the inside, depending on how many buttons it may have. Now at this point, we're just going to simply remove the key chip out of its place, and it will be held on by a little pin, as you can tell right there. All I did was hold on one of the buttons and just pull it out. And you want to be gentle with it, and as you can tell, I have the chip off. Okay, I want you to pay really close attention to this part, this white piece, because it is very important later on in the video, and it will determine on how easy or how hard this change is going to be for you. So, as you can tell, this white piece is held on by this black clip. So when it was brand new, somebody simply slid this white piece into that clip to hold it in place. Now as you can tell right here, and if it is hard to see, I'll probably provide pictures for a clearer view. This little chip right there is known as a transponder chip. And it is also very important that you remove this white piece as well as this transponder chip, because this chip is what allows your vehicle to turn on. As you might already know, you are not able to turn on your Mercedes vehicle with just a key blade. You need a chip, and this transponder chip is what gives a signal to the computer, and the computer accepts the transponder chip as it is programmed to the vehicle and allows the vehicle to turn on. So, as mentioned, keep a good look on how this looks as well as this chip, and at this point all you have to do is simply remove this white piece wherever it's easiest for you, and eventually as this piece comes off, this transponder that is being held in place by this piece will also come off. Alright, at this point you have your remote chip removed, you have your white transponder holder removed, and you also have your transponder removed. And at this point you are 100% ready to move these old pieces into your new replacement key shell and to have a brand new looking key. Fortunately for you, these new aftermarket replacement key shells are much easier to open than your original key shell. Now that is simply because these are key shells. It is expected that these are going to be open, so the opening process is just a little easier. Now to open this, all you want to do is to simply just try to pull it apart as is, or to use a flathead screwdriver and to help you with that process. As you can tell, there's a crack right there, and it's not necessary to remove the battery cover, although you may have to. This is what's going to determine whether this will be an easy job for you or a really hard job. When you're going to open this key shell, and of course I'll go over it in the video later on once I go over this, you want to open it, but try not to open it that this part of the key shell comes off that holds the blade in place, because if you do, this blade will need to be reset with the spring, and that is much harder to do. So as mentioned, I'm going to open this key shell, but you're going to notice that I'm not going to actually try to open this part, and I'm just going to simply, with it somewhat open, slide in the old transponder holder, the original remote, and the transponder, and it's going to be the easiest way done. It will be much harder if this part opens, comes off, and you have to redo the blade. Okay, once you have your remote out, your transponder, and your transponder holder, you are ready to put everything into this new key shell. Now this new key shell is much easier to be open, and all you have to do is put your flathead right there, just kind of give it a twist. Of course I'll go over it in the video, and you want to open it. As you can see, I just slid it off to the very side so that we can start to fit everything inside of it. Of course, you have your white transponder holder, and you want to put this in first, and then you put the transponder inside. It will also help if you put your flathead screwdriver, give it some pressure in order for it to fall in its place. Okay, at this point you want to get your transponder and slide it in. Now you want the smaller end, the end that is narrower, to stick out. It doesn't matter if it's flipped in either direction, but you just want this top part to be facing the very top. So you just want to simply slide it into the place and pop it into its cover. I'm going to open this up a little more, very gently, because I don't want to reset it. As you can tell, it just slides in, and with a little pressure, it is now popped in place. And when putting your remote in, you just want to remember that this little piece right here is going to go through that hole, and that's what's going to keep it in place. Do not worry, these chips are not easy to be broken. Okay, I think that is pretty well in. And now I'm just going to gently, because I really don't want to reset this, slide in. this cover back into the spot. And as you can tell, I was able to change everything into this new key shell without having to mess with the flip blade mechanism. So at this point, you just make sure everything is closed. And there you go. You now have everything fit into this new key shell. And at this point, you just want to simply take off this back cover and you want to put your batteries back inside. It is also recommended that you go ahead and put new batteries inside the new key shell. The battery that you will need is a CR2032 battery. One thing to note, the back cover on your new aftermarket replacement key shell will be much harder to open. Woo! I got it off. Okay, at this point you just get your new batteries, or your old ones if you prefer, and you just slide them back in place with the positive side up. As hard as it was to remove the battery cover, it's going to be hard to put it back on, and that is to be expected. Alright, I now have the battery cover on, and it is totally fine. If you want to press this against something hard, like this table, and then press very hard in order for it to snap in place. These things are very durable. And, as you can tell, it's now done. Lock button, unlock button, the trunk button, and of course a little harder to press, the panic button. The way these buttons work and the way they feel and the way they fit is going to be depending on how you put the remote in, the white plastic piece, and the transponder. It is very important that you put the white transponder holder as deep as it can, as still as it can, as well as it can, as I showed you in the video, because that will not just determine how well the transponder is put in place, but how the remote is going to fit in this key shell to give it the best response for the buttons. Now for this person's key in particular, they want the new blade, and I'm just going to simply cut their blade so it fits their vehicle. But of course, another thing you can do, especially if you have to reset this function right here, is that you can actually use your old blade and just have that instead of this new one. Now I highly recommend that you just simply have it cut, or this next way that I'm about to show you, because it is very annoying to get the spring and the flip blade mechanism reset to work again. So if you are not planning to get your new key blade cut and you do not want to reset the spring mechanism and put your old key blade, what you're going to have to do is that you're going to have to simply open just a little the key, and as you can tell right there, there's like a little hole, there's a pin, and what you want to do is simply get something like a sewing needle. You want to put it inside that pin, and with your hammer you're going to bang it out. What's going to happen is that when you bang out that pin, this blade is going to come off, which is perfect, because then you just simply do the same thing on your original key blade. You want to get your pin, place it right there in the hole, you want to bang out this blade, and all you do is get your old blade, put it into the new key shell, get the pin, and just bang it back in place, and now you have your old key blade on your new key shell and you don't have to get it cut. Anyways, that is all I have in today's video. If you haven't already ordered a key shell replacement, check out the link below and I'll have it available for you. And once again, thank you for watching this video. If you've ordered, thank you for ordering, and I'll catch you next time.